Howdy.
Are we live?
Yeah, I think
we
so.
are.
Chris may be frozen.
Oh, okay. I was like,
So
wait
we'll
for
all
him to
host. We've
start
done this before.
this show.
Chuck, we had a pre-broadcast vote, and you're to lead this. Chris can't make it.
All right. What is I've never watched one of these, or I'm not sure exactly. We're just discussing what's happening, or
I'm sure he'll jump on a second. We'll talk about, your pod. I have a feeling you're talking about Rock and Pod experiences, talk about your podcast a little bit.
cool.
As I know, that's the gist of it, I think.
Yeah, say hello. I'm John from Metal Mayhem ROC.
Nice to meet you. I'm Chuck from the Chuck Shute podcast.
And I'm Ilan Fong from What's Hot in the Strip Clubs.
Nice.
All right. That's awesome. Have you guys ever done Rock and Pod?
Yeah,
No.
I went to
Sorry,
the last one.
Okay. So
Hey, there's Chris.
Hey,
My internet has the best. So to go down the
Close.
minute
We
that
covered
I
for
go
you.
live. Well, you guys know what you're doing, your podcast host.
Yeah, we got it rolling. Chuck's running the show tonight.
Well, sorry for my delayed appearance. Welcome to ROCKNPOD Insider. I'm Chris Czynszak. I'm the organizer of ROCKNPOD. Joining so far, Chuck Shute, Ilan Fong, Verno from Metal Mayhem ROC is coming on. And thanks for joining me, guys. We're just going to go. We did this. Verno was part of the last one, and we just did a round table, just kind of shared some podcasting war stories, some memories of the event. And obviously, we'll go over some of the more recent announcements that we've made for the event. Obviously, if you are unaware, thanks to the algorithm, ROCKNPOD Weekend is happening March 17th through the 19th in Nashville. And I'll put this little scrolly thing at the bottom so you don't forget. And go to rocknpod.com to get your tickets, your VIP, your podcaster registration, your vendor registration, all that good stuff. A few things I do want to cover business-wise. We have a lot of vendor space for vendors and exhibitors that are coming this year because we have a giant room this time. So, and we're also doing the pop culture and comic event the next day. So we have a special deal going on right now. If you want to vend at just ROCKNPOD, that's fine. It's one price, but it's only a small additional price to do Nashville Rock and Comic Weekend and do Sunday as well. So you'll get to sell to two different audiences. So it's a good deal. And we're not pricey like NAMM, so you'll get a good deal there. That's part of what's going on. Also, another thing I want to remind people of: Keel Fest 2 will be happening after the expo on Saturday night on March 18th. That includes Ron Keel Band, Keel, Steeler reunion with Rick Fox and Mitch Perry. Sorry, folks, Yngwie will not be in attendance. Also, Mark Ferrari is coming from Keel, and it's Dwayne Miller, Brian J, all these guys. And there's a special combo ticket you can get that'll get you into ROCKNPOD Expo and also Keel Fest 2. Go to rocknpod.com to find that deal. And some of the recent announcements we made. The big one that came out just a few days ago. Let me find that. Is this guy here, Eric Martin from Mr. Big, is going to be coming. This will be his first time. He hasn't been back in Nashville in a very long time, and he's excited to come. And we are working on additional events with him for that weekend. I can't really share anything just yet, but you can probably figure it out. He is going to be a part of the pre-party show. The pre-party concert will take place at a place called Eastside Bowl. If you've ever been any of the Brooklyn Bowl venues around the country, it's similar to that. It's got bowling lanes, it's got a music room, a diner, it's got a bar. It's a massive entertainment complex. So we'll be doing a Rare Hair set. Tyson Leslie, my good friend's putting that on with a lot of expo guests, including Eric Martin, will be getting up and doing a song on Friday night. That'll be another thing coming up. And then also I want to remind people we announced comedian Craig Gass will be returning this year. If you've never heard Craig do his Gene Simmons impression, you're in for a treat.
He has the tongue, huh?
Yeah. No, he does not have the tongue. Well, I don't know. I wouldn't know. Don't ask me something. I know you do a strip club podcast, Ilan, but come on. We're not all filthy minded in this room here.
Lies. I know you're rock and rollers. Stop it.
Also on the comedy tip, of course, Don Jameson will be returning from that metal show. And of course, the Compound Media Network, he does a great podcast of his own. And then another addition was Tuck Smith from Tuck Smith and the Restless Hearts. If you remember a great band called the Biters, out of it was the singer for that band. and his new record is amazing. It's going to probably make my top 10 list of the year. Another one, Warner Hodge. This is a big deal for us locals here because Warner was a part of a band called Jason and the Scorchers that was kind of a forerunner to what they call cowpunk, where it's kind of a country hard rock mix. And Warner is kind of a local legend, so we're excited to have him on board as well. And of course, Stevie Rochelle, Mr. Metal Sludge, and the singer for Tough is going to be in attendance, and that's ruffled a few feathers behind the scenes. I'm not going to share that story, but yeah,
Nice.
a couple of people are not very favorable thinking to Stevie, but Stevie's a friend and does an amazing job, and I'm excited to have him come. Also, Native Sons, a great up and coming band, is going to be at the expo, so that you can check them out. And an amazing guitar player singer, Leilani Kilgore. She's making waves all over the world, so I'm excited to have her on board as well. Those are the kind of the more current ones, and then of course one that I still like to brag about, Eddie Ojeda from Twisted Sister is going to be a part of the event, so I'm excited to see him. So yeah, so that's kind of the update for now. And but yeah, so Ilan Fong from What's Hot in the Strip Clubs is here. If you haven't checked that out, Ilan has been an adult nightclub DJ for how long now?
25. I'm actually not active right now, but I did it for 25 years.
25 years.
All over the country: Vegas, Phoenix, Pittsburgh, Columbus, Atlanta, a little bit here and there. Yeah,
and their show, it's an interesting thing because they also work with Bob Chiappardi, who ran Foundations Forum for many years back in the day, and it's an interesting mix of it's like the song. It's a good way of how artists get their music into strip clubs, basically, and it's another method of getting independent artists' music into the hands of more people. So it's a fascinating show, and always good comedy on that show with you and Danny. And then welcoming Chuck Shute. So glad you're coming back this year, man. It was great having you last year.
Yeah, it's such an awesome event. I'm so glad it's going to be in a bigger space, because I just felt like last time I was like this, like walking around people, and I couldn't get a table because I think I was too late. So this time I was first. I think I hope I still have the table signed up. So,
yes, you do. Yeah.
Cool.
This is the room, the square footage we had last year combined with the two ballrooms was like 7,000 square feet. We're going to 36,000 this year. So there's going to be plenty of room.
You outgrew your britches like that. You've done a great job with this event. It's amazing.
Oh, thanks, man. And Chuck's done some amazing interviews. I do want to talk about one specifically here during this roundtable that's probably memorable for all the wrong reasons, but I know it'll be a funny story, and you could probably already figure out
why are those always the ones that people love? I need to do more shitty interviews. That's my goal this year. People love them.
Bad interviews get press.
That's right.
Yeah, that's true. So, but yeah, I'm glad you're coming back, and we've got a lot of new shows coming this year. That's always one of my favorite parts of it is, it tends to grow the community every year. We new friendships get made, and it's a lot of fun to meet new people, and it's like your Facebook come to life with less political arguments. That's the way I like to look at it. But yeah, so well, I guess we'll go ahead and start with Chuck's story, just because I want to go over this, because you did do a special second video about this, I think, when it came out. I'm talking about the Doyle interview.
Yes, that was a fun one. Well, I kind of knew it was going to be a shit show just because I listened to other interviews, but I was like cocky and I was like, oh no, trust me, I'm gonna win him over. He's gonna like me. He's really gonna open up when he gets on the phone with me, and it's a phone interview only. There's no Zoom. No video. And they gave me strict instructions. You can only talk about these certain things. You can't talk about this. You can't talk about the Misfits. I was like, okay, I'm in. I'm going to talk. He loves talking about vegan stuff. I'll talk about vegan stuff. He had no interest in talking to me whatsoever. I tried everything. I tried every little trick that I thought I had. I was trying to be super over the top nice, trying to promote his stuff. And he had no interest. Like, I think my favorite part of the interview was when I asked him about his website, and he said that he never went on his website. And then I said, well, you should check it out. It's actually a pretty cool website. But he had never been there. So I was trying to promote his stuff, and he didn't care. It was weird.
That's when you ask him, do you like sex?
This popped up.
That's when you ask him at that point, do you like sex?
No, he won't be on the live stream. I don't think he I don't. Yeah, it'd be fun if you could get him to ROCKNPOD.
No, it wouldn't. Yeah, I did have an agent reach out to me asking me, like, would you have an interest in Doyle being a guest? And this is after your experience. And then Joshua Toomey, another podcaster that's a friend of ours who comes every year, had and also Baco from Cobras and Fire. They all had similar interviews to what you had. And
I listened to those.
why?
I listened to one right before mine. For some reason, I could hear the other person's interview, and it was so painful. Mine was painful, but I just smiled and laughed because I knew it was going to be like that. So
At least he's consistent.
yeah, that's like his shtick, I guess. Is like, I'm going to be a dick in interviews. It's funny or something.
Yeah, do the David Letterman thing with him then.
Yeah, I shared that episode on my Facebook, and I was just like, my main question is, why does he ever say yes to an interview if he's going to be this way?
Right?
That's what I was asking. How long was this interview?
It's only like 15 minutes or something because he just gave one word answers. So I was like, well, I don't know what else to ask you anymore. So maybe it's just so that we talk about it like this. Like now he's getting more press because we're talking about him. So maybe that's the strategy. Because I don't know how doing a bad interview and being unlikable helps you sell anything. Like I would not give him a penny on his website. I wouldn't go to a show of his.
That's kind of punk though, right? Like anti everything, right? So the fans are probably like, oh dude, he told that podcaster corporate blah 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 blah. He showed him, made him look like an idiot.
I'm not corporate. I'm just like
I know, but the average person goes, well, you're a podcast, you're a big deal.
Okay.
I'm reaching here. I'm just,
Yeah. No, I think if it's actually, the funny thing is, the irony is that if it is a bigger podcast, I've seen him do a couple where he is kind of normal and he kind of opens up. If it's like someone with a bigger audience, then he'll be a little nicer. So
got it.
Yeah. They were like, would you have an interest in Doyle being a guest at ROCKNPOD? I was like, I don't think he'll like the concept of my whole thing because it means doing interview after interview with podcasters. I don't think so.
Well, and he'd probably have to show up in makeup and stuff like that too.
Yeah, I mean, visually it would be kind of cool to see him there, but yeah, I don't think I would want to have him as a guest.
I don't think he would want to do it. I think he just needs to start saying no to this stuff. It's cool.
Yeah.
I think that's more punk rock if you just say no to every interview and then there's a mystery. Then people really want to know, and you're like, no, I'm not going to tell you anything about myself. I'm a mystery.
That's fair. I missed those days, by the way.
Well, I don't know, Ilan. We did this last time. Do you have any particular interview horror stories that you can share?
I mean, we've definitely had some. It's usually a younger artist, and then they'll have a like you said, 1 word, 2 word answers, and you're just trying to draw. And like we're trying to help you promote yourself, and I don't think record labels do the press training like they used to, and so we've run into a lot of the younger artists are timid and shy, and we spend a good 5-10 minutes before we go live, trying to warm them up, prep them what we're going to ask them, what we're going to say, kind of what we're going to talk about. You know what I mean? And so no real horror stories. The one story can I share this?
Yes.
I won't share the details, but I'll share the gist of it. So we had Gavin Rosdale on from Bush, and great interview. And he shared a bunch of stories. He had buyer's remorse spawn by the next day. So before we posted the show, because we record it and then we edit it, and so we don't do it live. His management reached out and said, hey, can you take out that part about that story? Blah, blah, blah. And we said, okay, what can we do? We kind of got to we're nobody, so we don't really have any leverage. So we had to take it out. I'll tell you off air more about that, but
that's pretty common though. I've had a lot of people do that. It sucks when they say there's like 3 or 4 things, because that's a lot of editing and that's annoying. But I
know another story. So we had Major Lazer on, which I don't know if you know, they're a big EDM act.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I don't know if you guys know a lot of outside of rock or not. Sorry. Didn't want to.
No, my girlfriend likes it.
Okay. So Major Lazer, Walshy Fire, one of the producers, one of the trio, was on the show, and they released their new single called "Oh My God," and they were giving us the world premiere. So huge for us, right? And Nicki Minaj was the featured rapper on the track. So we record the show, have a great interview with Walshy, post the show, and then Nicki Minaj's management says, you can't drop that until the release date. And we're like, well, wait. Walshy said we can. Major Lazer said we can. And then, and we're not even featuring the verse with Nicki on it, because we can only play like 45 seconds. And at the end of the day, we had no leverage. We still had to bow out. So we had to re-edit the show, And just sucks because then we couldn't even really do the world premiere. We had it like the song 2 weeks before the drop, which would have been absolutely massive for us. You know what I mean? As a group that really caters to DJs, among other things. So that was kind of a bummer. So not as big a fan of Nicki Minaj as I used to be. I thought that was kind of petty.
That's pretty cool that you're talking to her people. Even
I wasn't directed. Bob Chiappardi was for us. I shouldn't act like me and Danny. Bob's our liaison with all the record, with the artists and so on and so forth. I mean, we're tagged in on the emails. You know what I mean? But he brings us the artists, and he does a great job. Everything from hip hop to EDM to rock. We've had Josh Todd from Buck Cherry on. We've had Dave Ellefson from Megadeth. We've had Dorothy. We just had Dorothy on a couple months ago, the lead singer of Dorothy. We've had a bunch of bands that are much bigger now that have broken, and we've been doing it for 8 years. I've been on the show for 6 years as the co-host with Danny, but Danny started it 8 years ago, and it's been fun. You know, I mean, we're learning. It's all Danny. I got to give him a lot of credit. I've been learning as I go too, but he does all the editing, and he's taught himself the video editing. Like, it's impressive, and we're learning we both learned the social media marketing part of it, which is huge. Such a big component of what we do now, and just trying to break out of our niche market of the strip club industry, which is obviously our backbone, but we're just now starting to expand into, because it's our second tagline is all about the music. We rarely talk about strippers, and you know what I mean? It's really about the music. And so we're trying to break new music or talk about older stuff and remixes and blah, blah, blah. So
that's awesome. Yeah. I have a couple interview the horror stories. Lips from Anvil. Okay.
Oh yeah, I got him on. He's cool.
He is cool. I got a long history with him, but the interview we were doing was literally after about 15 minutes, I aborted because I would ask him a question and he would just go off on, I don't know what he was talking about. And, It was just, And I'm like, okay, Lips, that's a great story. But again, the song Nabbed in Nebraska, it's about getting busted with weed in Nebraska. I knew there was a backstory on it. I knew the backstory, but I was trying to get him to tell the story. It's like, just some song we wrote, and he gave a little bit of it. And after like 15, 20 minutes, I wasn't feeling it. Right then and there, halfway through it, I'm like, we're not going in. This isn't going to be a feature interview. I don't know. We ran it. One of the best ones I had recently was with a ROCKNPOD attendee this year, Jason McMaster. And
he's cool.
Yeah, he's very cool. And the quick story behind this was the weekend that he got home from doing the Accept fill-in gig when Mark Tornello of Accept went down and Jason filled in. He got the call from the Armored Saint camp to fill in for them. Wow. And that came on a Sunday night. 2 days earlier in Cleveland, we interviewed the band, and that was the night the second to last night that John Bush started getting sick. And my co-host saw the first show that Jason filled in. So we bookend the whole experience, and this we called it heavy metal forensics, because he didn't know any of that about how we did the interview, and we were supposed to do Bushy, but at the last minute he canceled, and it turned out because he was sick. And it was just it was just a great kind of rocket, like heavy metal forensics. We were right there. But McMaster's really excited about coming down here, and he loves what's going on. So it's there's been a lot of interviews. We specialize in interviews, and some of these people just talk and talk. Some we've become friends, and we think we're friends, but they like Ripper Owens. Honestly, you can tell he started the interview, and by the end, he didn't want it to go too long. It's like, I could give you a half hour, and then it ended up being like 50 minutes long. He just kept talking, and so that's what I get out of it. That's the best part.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I love Tim. He's awesome.
Yeah, and Chuck, I noticed with your show, you don't specifically just do music. I mean, you work and you've gone into different areas. You had Mark Norman, the comedian, on recently, and you've also got like psychologists coming on, and I do like that you've stretched with the subject matter that you cover on the show. Is that going to be the plan going forward, or do you still take it back to music most of the time?
Yeah, I'd like to stretch it and do a lot of things. I'll always still have music on, I think. But I think I just want to focus on bigger names, people with bigger followings. I mean, I'm working on an episode right now, and I was an author, and it should come out soon. I loved it. It's one of my favorite interviews in the last 6 months, but I know he doesn't have a big name, so it might not get as many views. So it's like a lot of work sometimes to do some of these interviews, and then it doesn't get a lot of views and clicks, and that's just really frustrating. I really want to try to grow my audience. I do actually kind of have a little bit of an announcement if I can mention this. Sure. You spoke about non-music ones. So there was an interview that I did over the summer, and it was with somebody, an author, and I just got a call from CBS on Monday, CBS 48 Hours, and they said they want to use a clip of that interview potentially on 48 Hours this weekend. So if you watch 48 Hours and you see a clip of me, hopefully it happens. You guys know sometimes this stuff falls through, like, right. Oh, you're going to get this big guest, and then all of a sudden they stop answering your emails. So I don't know. They asked to use it. I signed a waiver, so hopefully they use it, and that would be like really good publicity for me. So yeah, that's the plan, is to continue to do a variety of things. But yeah, I always definitely want to do musicians. I think the thing with, if I just do one or the other, I get too bored. I gotta like mix it up and do a variety of different things. It's gonna be fun because I got a musician Friday, and so I'm looking forward, because the musician ones are a little bit more fun sometimes. Sometimes the authors and the more intellectual, there's sometimes more interesting, but it's a lot more work, and it's like emotionally exhausting when you're done. Whereas musician is just like, you leave and you're like, oh, that was a lot of fun. Like when you have Tim Rip Owens, I mean, it's almost like you're just being entertained. Like he's just so funny.
Yeah, that's cool. No, I guess I'll be watching 48 Hours this weekend.
Set your DVR. I hope that they don't I hope they actually use it and they don't cut me out or something. I don't know. Right. I don't know what they're gonna do.
Hey, Chuck, excuse me, Chuck. One thing I've noticed, you were talking about trying to get more viewers and clicks and all that. Something that's completely out of our control, but that I have done is when one of the Brave Worlds or Blabbermouth or something picks up something from one of our shows. We've been lucky enough to have about 12 times they've picked up a piece. And when that gets picked up, you just, obviously you see the spikes, but then you see more subscribers, and then you see more interaction. And I gauge it not on clicks or views. That's one, analytic. It's more engagement. The more I could get people to comment on something, and I flat out bribe them, tell them, listen, leave a review, and we're having a contest this week. Leave a review, we'll put your name in a hat, and you'll get yourself a free Metal Mayhem shirt. Give them something. Sure. And it works. You get the engagement or whatever. So it's usually what I do is send right to any of these places a complete timestamp of talking points. Make it so that I learned from one of the guys I work with. Make it as simple as possible for them. So look at 32-minute mark. Mine aren't that long. I try not to go over 35 minutes on an interview because people get bored. But you put the talking points. Go, hey, there's a little meat on the bone here. Aranti's talking about like when we interviewed Aranti, the female guitarist, she was with Michael Jackson and all that. It was the day that Anita Strauss left Alice Cooper. It was like an hour earlier.
Good timing.
Yeah. So, we were able to tell her about it. And we were a little bummed after we had wished we had pushed it a little more, but it was a little, we felt a little disrespectful, but we got her commentary on it, but they picked up on it. Like in a new interview with Metal Mayhem ROC, Aranti talks about, blah, 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 with the departure of Nita Strauss.
Chuck, another thing I was thinking of, just because Chris mentioned you had a show with the psychologist. We just did 2 interviews with Giovanni from Giovanni and the Hired Guns. They had like the #1 track on Active Rock, Ramon Ayala. And Danny and I, great guy too. Really sweetheart of a man. we got to go backstage in Cincinnati and hang out with him. And we were having a conversation with him. And I was saying, man, you're blowing up. And he was younger than I thought. He's like 27, 28. And he was talking about how, they're touring so hard. And, and I said, one thing I would just advise, you're a younger dude, and is don't get burned out. You look at what happened to so many rock stars, whether it's Avicii or rock people, and their lives get consumed. And, the record label will chew you up and spit you out. They don't care about you. You're just the gravy train, and they'll ride you as long and as hard as they can. Right. And so I said, one thing I wish labels would do to avoid Avicii, who ended up committing suicide, and people like that, is just have a therapist. How do you go from having no money to dealing with the fame and then being on the road and being away from, so that you could tie those things together? Because it's something Giovanni and I talked about, and actually Bob and I have talked about, Chip Hardy, with, record labels trying to get support for artists, especially young artists who have never lived the life, never been on tour, never been, all the demands, especially the main guy, right? He does all the interviews, he does all because the hired guns are they're his friends in his band, but they're not the stars, right? And so that might be an interesting topic to delve into just with a psychologist.
No, absolutely.
That's music related. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's what I do a lot of times too, is it may be like an author or somebody, a producer, but yeah, we'll talk about the music too. So
yeah.
Definitely.
Cool.
I love it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So well, it gives you got each of you your thoughts on certain things. So, I heard John say, try to keep your interviews about 30 minutes. Do you each have a specific amount of time you try to allot for your show or for your, for your interviews and stuff? Because to me, I don't know. It just depends on the interview. Like, and I guess this could go along with a horror story example for me. Not really, because it turned out great, but we did an interview with Donnie V from Enough's Enough, and anyone that knows my co-host knows that he worships that band. And we had a great talk with him. But if you've ever interviewed Donnie V, you know that he is an open book and he will let it fly. So we got some really juicy quotes from him. But at the same time, we also went into all kinds of tangents that were, I'll just say, odd. Like, we went into life after death and UFOs and aliens and all kinds of insane stuff. It was fun to talk to him, but it wound up clocking in at almost 3 hours when we were done with it. And I was like, we cannot release a 3-hour talk with Donnie V. So I cut about half of it out. It was an hour and a half.
Yeah, no, Chris, we will roll tape for an hour and a half, but we'll edit it. I'll edit it down. I'll create. There's so many times I'll take something from the back end and sort of move it to the front if he expanded more on something we talked about at the beginning. Or you're right, there's those hidden jewels afterwards. And a lot of times tape is always rolling, and we will talk before the interview, and I will let him know at the end. I go, listen, before we even get on, I said, tapes are rolling. He goes, that's fine, but we do a fake opening, and I'll let him know at the end. I'll say, I'll tell him, okay, at the end, don't hang right up, because either I try to do my station drops at the beginning, but don't hang right up, even though I'll say, hey, Jimmy, thanks for coming on. Good luck on the tour, blah, blah, blah. They'll stay on. And then there's times you talk another 20 minutes.
Right.
And that will get in there. So to comment on what you're saying, oh, yeah, you let Donnie V talk about aliens. Who knows? I mean, that may be, but
it was interesting.
But the final product, there's times it goes longer. But I listen to a lot of other podcasts, media podcasts, and this and that, and even stuff I'm into, especially with interviews. What are the specifics, guys? They say, people are taking their power walk or driving to work or cooking dinner. It's that 30 to 35, 40-minute time. That's why I'm not a big.
Yeah. John, we do the same thing. We definitely edited shows down and we let it roll. And then, so we just did an interview with Shannon Larkin, the drummer from Godsmack, and he ended up staying on with us for over an hour. And usually our whole podcast with the interview is an hour with only about 10 to 20 minutes of interview. So what we did was we chopped it up, and then we used all the extra stuff and put it on our YouTube channel and did a more extended with video drop. You know what I mean? So sometimes you can create new or more content, or do multiple shorter shows with the extra content. And then, the big thing is attention spans keep getting shorter. And so I know like a lot of the demographics show that 20 minutes is a stopping point for a lot of people. So with ads or whatever, your half-hour show is around 20 minutes, you know what I mean? And so on and so forth. So it's hard for a lot of, like, I think, if you're Joe Rogan and those people of the world, yeah, you can get away with a 3-hour interview, right? But I've even listened to some of the podcasts on Pantheon, and I know one of the shows I was excited to listen to because it was about one of my favorite bands, and I don't want to out them because I don't, but they didn't get to what I was interested to like almost 2 hours into the show, and I'm like, are we gonna get there? Wow. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, I wanted to hear what they had to say because I also want to hear what my peers are doing, and I'm trying to learn and grow as much as I can with my interview skills and anything I can. Promotion, you've already given me some great promotion ideas, John, so thank you. That's why you've seen me do this. I'm taking notes. But so I think all the above is definitely true, just because they're going to talk, and it's great. I think the best interviews are when they come off as people. The best conversations are when it's not just the music, when they're not the rock star in promotion mode, but when you get to know them as people. Like, I like meeting my heroes. Yeah, backstage, you get to snap picture, maybe an autograph. I don't care about that stuff. I'd rather talk to you as a human. One of my favorite moments, I got to hang out with Living Color back in '93 on their Stain tour, and we were backstage, and then they're like, hey, it was me and a bunch of other people, but a few of us were left, and they said, hey, we're going to go to this bar up the street and just shoot pool. You want to shoot pool with us? We're like, yeah, let's go. And so we ended up getting in this great, political conversation with Vernon Reed,
yeah,
with just random people for like an hour. It was awesome. That meant so much more than, once I get over my gush phase of the fan, like, oh my God, you're the best, blah, 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 right? Then you're people. And that's when the best conversations occur, I think.
Well, here's a question that arose that led to an episode. If you had a choice of only taking a picture with someone, but you couldn't talk, or 1 minute, but no picture, what would you do?
They both kind of suck, but I'd probably take the minute because I'm not a big picture person. My memories are all here anyways, right?
Yeah.
And I've got Corey Glover's my vocal idol. I used to be a singer, so Corey Glover's God to me as far as vocals.
Yeah.
And he let me geek out, and he's like, just go. And I'm like, I apologize halfway through my geek out. He's like, go. And then I finished, and I'm literally panting out of breath. And he's like, are you done? Did you get it all out? I go, yeah. He's like, now we can talk like people. He's like, hi, my name's Corey. It was great.
No, I agree. I think the minute is better. I'm a big Seahawks fan. I gotta take a picture with Marshawn Lynch, but it was like that. It was just a big line, and it was just people click, and I was like, that was really dumb. Like, I mean, I have a picture with him, and that's kind of cool, but like, I didn't get to talk to him at all. Like, I didn't get to ask. I just said, hey, thanks for kicking ass as a Seahawk. Because that was cool. But yeah, I'd rather have like a full minute, maybe ask him like a couple questions and then then move.
Well, that's great you said that because I'm a big Miami Dolphin fan. Save the comments, all of you.
I didn't say anything.
Well, that was just cutting you off at the path. A couple of years ago, I went to a private card. I'm up here in Rochester, New York, so it's not exactly Dolphin headquarters up here.
Yeah, no kidding. It's Bill's territory.
Please. So I went to a card show signing, and both the Marx brothers were there, Duper and Clayton.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
So when I went up to them, I'm hearing a little feedback.
Can still hear you, but yeah, I did get a little echoey.
Well, when I went up to the guys, I instantly went into interview mode or whatever. I go, hey guys, it's big fan, been fans forever. I go, listen, I got a question for both of you, and I have an answer. I want to know, and I went to Mark Clayton, what is your favorite touchdown catch for both of you? And I will tell you mine.
Cool.
And and they're like, wow, man, look at this guy, getting all like, this guy comes prepared. And we talked about it. And afterwards, they saw me. And that's when we got together again. I took pictures with them. Awesome. And it was, so really the moral of the story is I would go the 1 minute because you never know where that 1 minute's going to go. And that's like Chuck, where you're saying, and when you do these interviews, it's a discussion. It's not an interview. I don't even say when I reach to it an interview. I go, I would like to invite so-and-so on the show for a cool discussion on, and I always promote, like say it's a half hour. We tell them right off the bat, we've dissected the new album. We're going to spend a majority of the time giving you our notes on the songs. It's great. What's good and what's bad, because we don't sugarcoat it. And we're respectful. We don't say bad.
Yeah, right.
And then we let them know, you know what? And then we're also going to spend a little 10 or 15 minutes, take a walk down heavy metal memory lane. My co-host lives in New Jersey, and he's been into a million shows. I'm up here in Rochester, New York, like I said, and we have a rich metal history, all the way from Metallica recording the first album here to that pipeline. The pipeline down to New York. And here's a little tease. Chuck teased something earlier. Coming up in about 2 weeks, an exclusive, one-of-a-kind Metallica tidbit to help coincide with the 40th anniversary of Kill 'Em All.
Wow, that's cool.
So if you're out there listening, that's all I'm going to give you, but it's one of a kind that I got my hands on.
Very cool.
Well, guys, I got to run. I'm going to a basketball game. So thank you for this opportunity, and I'll hop in on another roundtable. If you do these once a week.
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah, we'll do once a week all the way to the event.
Okay, cool, man. Well, I'll try to catch another one. This was fun. Nice to meet
All
you.
right, great
Guys.
having
Nice to meet you, Chuck.
All right, see ya.
See ya.
See ya. Wait a second. The Sonics are in Oklahoma.
I think he means college.
Oh, okay. So real quick, John, I know this is going to come shocking to you, but having been in the strip clubs for 25 years, I've met a lot of pro athletes.
I bet you have.
Dan Marino, being a Dolphins fan, I'm from Pittsburgh originally, so obviously I was a big fan as a Pitt Panther. Pitt fan more so than Penn State. You're like Pitt or Penn State growing up in Pittsburgh for college. He was actually very nice to me. I actually wasn't in the strip clubs yet. I was just bartending at a rib joint in Upper St. Clair, Mount Lebanon, which is a suburb of Pittsburgh, which he lived in the off season. And his kids were in the movie theater, and he just came in to have a drink.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I look at him and go, "You're Dan Marino, aren't you?" He's like, "Yeah. How you doing?"
I met Danny a few times on odd remote times. Great dude.
Yeah.
I mean, when I met him, when I graduated high school in the 80s, I went to school in Toronto for recording arts. And we used to go to the Brass Rail for lunch 3 days a week. It's Chris, that's the ballet up in Canada.
I didn't know you were a big fan of ballet, John.
Well, not anymore. When you're a 19-year-old, you don't go to them anymore.
Right.
That's too funny. Oh man. Well, to get back to rock. Well, also the one thing I do love about ROCKNPOD is like when with the celebrity guests that we bring in, it differs from a normal meet and greet situation to where it's like a cattle call, especially at the concerts, because they're in a rush to get on stage or whatever, get to the bus. But this one, a lot of the guests, some of them will stick to their strict schedule, and we get them in, they do what they got to do, and then they get out. But the majority of them hang out all day and are accessible to people all day long. And that's one of my favorite things about it. And we're talking about, would you take the minute or the picture? I'm definitely the minute person because I'm an idiot. I put on ROCKNPOD every year and I never
get a picture.
Ask anyone for a damn picture ever. I have like no pictures of me with any of the guests that I've looked over the years. It's so dumb, I'll also have a stack of records ready to bring to the venue to get signed, and I always forget them. It just
that's funny.
It never works out. But no, the memories is the important thing. It's a picture is great and all, but I don't know. I'll take a good conversation over a photo.
Well, I'm excited for Keel Fest. I got to know Ronnie Keel a little bit. He played in Iron Horse, was his country rock band, right?
Yep.
And so he played regularly in Yuma, Arizona, and I was DJing at a strip club in Yuma. And so he came in the club and he knew some of the bouncers or something, and he actually ended up coming to my apartment when we had a party. I think it was actually my going away party. So he came in and hung out and drank with us all night, and super nice guy. And I've run into him. It's been years now. I doubt he'll remember me. Plus I had hair then. I had long hair then. Now, I'm losing it, so I can't grow it. But, and he was such a nice guy. Really look forward to seeing him again. Some of the names you've brought up, like Mark Ferrari, wasn't he in Cold Sweat at one point? And I saw something.
He was, and
I met him when he was in Cold Sweat. He played a small club here that's no longer existent in Columbus when I was in college, called Oakland Park Avenue, and met him there. And all the guys in Cold Sweat. This had to be 90, 91, somewhere around then.
Yeah, and the singer for Cold Sweat was Rory Cathy, who is now goes by Roy Cathy, and his band The Fifth is opening Keel Fest.
Oh, really? Very cool. See, I didn't know that. This will be fun.
Yeah, so I've got two members of Cold Sweat that are there. You might end up hearing a Cold Sweat song or two during.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, that's all good stuff. I was in a band way back then. I was a singer, so it's just exciting seeing all the names, and again, getting to meet him as people. Jason McMaster. Now he was in
Dangerous Toys.
Dangerous Toys. Who was in Bonham though? Wasn't he named McMaster too? The lead singer of Bonham.
No, that was Bonham. I was thinking
Jason Bonham, like 90, 91.
Get It On. Who is that band? Get It On.
Oh, King Tom. They're from Pittsburgh. Yeah.
No, I think that guy's name may have been McMaster, but he sadly passed away not long after that record came out.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Shit.
Yeah, he had it was like a rare disorder or something. Because I've tried to look him up in the past because I love that record. I used to listen to it.
It's a really good record.
And I was like, whatever happened to that guy? Because I think his name was Daniel McMaster, if I'm remembering right. Yeah, but he I don't think he was related to Jason, but I mean Jason did Dangerous Toys, Watchtower, Broken Teeth.
Teeth.
He's got tons of projects. Yeah,
Dangerous Toys I definitely know, and I have the CDs, but I don't know much after that.
He's also Kicks right now too.
Is he really?
What?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
He's in Kicks now too. Is it Kicks or
No.
Oh no, the other one. Oh my god.
I was saying his voice actually would fit for Kicks pretty well.
No, oh my god, I can't believe I can't pull this up. It's a band just like it.
Kicks. Cinderella comes to mind for that kind of vocal.
No. It's something very close.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
it'll come to you.
Yeah. But he also does a podcast, and him and his co-host are gonna do their podcast at the expo also.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, let me do a pitch for you. So to the vendors who are hesitant to maybe sign up for the comic day, just let me tell you, I work in the comics industry. I work at a comic store. I've been a comic geek since I was 8 years old. I have like 30,000 comics in my collection. And I can tell you a lot of comic book fans are former rock people, bands, musicians. They definitely cross-pollinate quite a bit. Also, an interesting fact for you, most strip club DJs over the age of 40 used to be in a rock band. It's a lot of them are failed musicians and they like the lifestyle. So you end up working in a strip club. That was partially true for me.
You got to stay connected to the business, right?
That's right.
Dirty Looks.
Aha.
Oh, he sings for them now too?
Yeah.
Wow.
219 to present.
Wow.
Yeah. It goes on and on. Cassius King, Dangerous Toys, Dirty Looks, Evil United, Howling Sycamore, Igniter, Kids in Satan's Service, Kill 'Em All, Sad Wings, Spastic Inc.
Some of them are cover bands, I guess.
Yeah.
Kill 'Em All, and
he does a lot of cover band.
Yeah, encyclopedia.
Kiss was the Kids in Satan's Service. Remember that rumor back in the 70s?
Well, and he used to have a Kiss tribute band called Sick, and it was Kiss spelled backwards.
Ah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I remember watching MTV when I was a kid and seeing, the videos for, Teasing, Pleasing and Scared and that stuff. And I was really into that record. And like, I actually, once I booked them, I was like, go back and listen to some Dangerous Toys. And there's they have a song called Queen of the Nile that I was like, this is like one of the best, gems that people don't even remember from back in the day. Such a great song.
I do a radio show on Monday nights, and we have a section of the show called OMG, Oh My Gods. And it's song, you haven't heard. It's one or two, whatever comes to me.
Right.
Like we've done stuff like Go for a Soda, Kim Mitchell, Billy Thorpe, Children of the Sun.
Oh, great song.
That got played a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah, well, it fits the mode. It's, oh my God, I haven't. That's why it's OMGs. And we played Sportin' a Woody. And,
that's a fun song.
And it's it's fun shit. And now it's like people now it's getting overloaded because people are texting, tweeting, hey, Vern, play this and this and this and this. I'm like, wow, those are all good, but you can't go too much. It's
there's a podcast called Galaxy Jams, or it's like a Twitch stream, and basically they'll get people on from different parts of the industry to basically just sit and listen to music and react to it. And so they had Christian who's like one of the heads of Pantheon Podcast, the network that Ilan and I are both on. Yep. And so they came to me and some other Pantheon shows and said, what songs do you suggest for Christian to listen to? And I picked Beat to Death Like a Dog by Rhino Bucket. Wow. And because it's still one of my favorite songs. And I was just like, I bet he's never heard this before. And he hadn't. And I was actually talking to him earlier today because I can't say too much, but Pantheon is going to be involved with ROCKNPOD again. But he was just like, man, that blew me away. I couldn't believe how much that sounded just like old school AC/DC. And I was like, yeah, that's because the singer sounds just like Bon Scott.
You're taking notes. I take notes. I run with this clipboard.
Nice.
Songs for the show. I'm like,
yeah, Rhino Bucket. I just made a note too.
Rhino. This is there's another section we call Sunset Strip because you try to keep there's a 3-hour show on Metal Devastation Radio, and it's a nice flow to it. And there's a little section Sunset Strip, and that's when we play the would you consider Rhino Bucket Sunset Strip?
I think they're more of an East Coast band.
Yeah.
Well, that we use that term loosely.
The era, so the hair metal.
I mean,
era.
that era. Yeah, I think that song came out in like '89. I think. Yeah.
I have a question for you, John. So, how do you feel about newer metal? So, like I always say on the show, like I like a lot of it, but I'm not into the screamo thing, and I always tease young bands to go, 2 girls you need to know are melody and harmony. But
I'm a big fan of what they call new wave of traditional heavy metal.
Okay.
Oh, there's some great stuff there.
Yes, like the Night Demons, Enforcer, stuff that, like you said, subscribes to the melody, leads, drums. But in terms of when you start getting into the Cookie Monster vocals or the Dragon Force drums, that you don't even know if it's real.
Right.
And no, I can't do it. I will check stuff out. And
of course,
we get inundated with just tons and tons of stuff, and it's just, I don't know. And you go see them, and like what bands would you consider, like In Flames or Lamb of God?
Nevermore is a newer band that really impressed me live, and then when I've listened further, like I was backstage at Rock on the Range for some stuff, and was just checking out new bands I hadn't really heard of, more in the new metal scene. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they impressed me live. A lot of the bands, I agree. It's becomes a one note sort of band because it's all the same stuff, right?
What band were you? Did you?
Nevermore was. I think was it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Nevermore. Yeah. Got the redheaded singer who's shirtless and does this weird keyboard drum thing that has like moves like a Geiger alien pod thing. It's really cool. But anyways, I think the women in rock have been killing it as far as old school sounds, from Dorothy to Hailstorm to Kaleido to Diamante. There's so many great female driven bands right now that really subscribe to the older sort of rock sound we like, more so than the male side seems to be just getting heavier and heavier, more goth, like Motionless in White and bands like that. And I appreciate them all, but for what speaks to me personally, it's got to have melody and it's got to have a groove. That's important to me. And so, like for me, for new music, they say you quit listening to music, your listening taste kind of stop at like 15 to 18, I think, right? Is that right?
That's what they say. Yeah.
So I wonder, for guys like us, I definitely have, because of DJing, it's opened me up to so many different genres I probably wouldn't have if I just stayed in the rock lane. You know what I mean? I love EDM. And what you can do. I love remixes of rock stuff. We play a lot of stuff like that. We have a remix show that takes a decade of rock, and then we play remixes of classic rock stuff, which is a lot of fun, and that makes it playable. So another thing we do is try and show you ways to take old classic songs and make them playable for today's audience, a younger audience. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure. Well, our thesis of our podcast and the radio show, it's all under the Metal Mayhem ROC brand, is we're a bridge. We'd like to, the newer people, educate them on the old stuff, but more importantly, the old metalheads get up to speed what's going on now. Okay. Don't be completely get off my lawn guy, you know, and then, there's a well-known radio personality that waves the flag. I think we all know who he is. His big beef is some of these people will call up his talk show and ask, when did, and I'm making this up, it's like, when did Sebastian Bach leave Skid Row?
or what is he up to?
Or in and
a lot of wine.
Go on. There's this little thing in the box called the internet. You can't escape it. Dude. So that's like when we do interviews. Like tomorrow I'm interviewing John Gallagher of Raven.
He's awesome.
I promoted a show up here in Rochester this fall, and we're tying it in with this Metallica special. We're getting the backstory of how they got that gig, you know, what happened with the gig, them opening for Metallica. But then later tomorrow, we're doing an interview with, God, I don't even know the name of the band, Monsters and Heroes. With,
don't know that band.
Well, one of the guy, Tom Kearns, that he plays with Chris,
Slash,
plays
right?
with
Slash,
and with Kulik's solo band.
Okay,
Kulik does the Kiss, and Graham Bonnet's next week with a wrap up of, you know. So it's, you know, it's not just, you know, the old guys. Sometimes the old guys are easy to get, and like what Chuck was saying, you're trying to enhance your, you know, the interview people, and that's all in addition trying to create content that entertains people, you know, self-created content. We have a running series, History of Metal. We have this new show called Rock and Roll Detention, where two of my co-hosts that do the show with me create content. They take a deep dive into a subject.
Okay.
You know, the couple in the can that haven't played yet is Badlands.
That's one of my all-time favorite bands. So Ray Gillen live,
yes,
maybe the best singer I've ever seen as far as getting close to as how the record sounded to how he sounded.
And Chris, I tell my guys, I go, guys, listen, you got to get online. I go, check out what the Decibel Geek guys are doing.
Oh,
And they've been around, but you know, it's a compliment to you guys. It's like this created content. It's fun shit. The sky's the limit.
Yeah.
We could do anything, and just, you know, we do it well. We present it well. It's just, people will listen, just, you know, just to make it fun.
Yeah, we just, I mean, and we haven't done interview. We're going to try to do more interviews this year, but we kind of got away from them for a while just because it felt like wash, rinse, repeat a lot of the time. And it was like kind of like, and also when I was diving in for interviews, it was, I always was kind of conscious of, don't set up interviews with people that are on a press junket, because they're used to doing 20 in a day. So I would try to get people that weren't doing, but then it makes it harder to get them because they don't want to do press. But
sure.
But no, that's why we switch up the theme all the time. To us, we're like, it's our show. We can do whatever we want with it. So we'll do the best and worst of White Lion one week, or we'll do, top 5 Alice Cooper songs of the 70s, or, it's just kind of like, it has to stay fun for us. We wouldn't be doing it 12 years if it wasn't still fun. So yeah, that we have to always keep mixing it up.
Well, to comment on what you're saying, you've been around a while. You have a following, so you don't need it. I started this in the spring of 2019.
No,
so
the interview early on, the interviews are crucial because it's what brings people to the table. Yeah.
And, and it's like, you're lucky to have Aaron, the guy I started the show with. What's that?
I'm very lucky to have Aaron, because listen to my voice. Yeah.
The guy I started the show with, after 6 months, an old friend, he just, he stopped. And I have I worked in radio. And so I have this media DNA in me. That's why I like doing this. And I've done it all alone. But then I've been able to acquire these guys that are great. This guy, I'm going to give him his props. He goes by the name of Metal Walt. He lives in East Hanover, New Jersey. And I met him because he was on our show, because he's a professional concert audio capturer, air quote. And he's been to thousands of shows and try millions of shows. And he's a project manager for a overseas pharmaceutical company, but he's in Jersey. So he's, he's a hell of a writer. He's organized. And I'm like, thank you, metal gods. Thank you for sending me someone that alleviates some of this. And he's my peanut butter, I'm jelly. And he is great. And then I have another guy that I met. He's in a band, this band Motor Lord, that I suggested that he sent the tape for your CD, swag bag CD.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah. But he went from being an interview to now us three navigate this History of Metal series. We started it 2 summers ago in the year 1973, and we're ready to tape 1991 next week.
Nice.
Wow. And you think, geez, I was thinking, oh man, by 91, there's shit. But these guys remind me what you're talking about, Chris, because they're in their mid 40s, late 40s. I'm 55.
Right.
So they're Headbangers Ball was the shit to them. But by then, I was over it. So,
Wow, it's got a late edition here,
Welcome.
Jason.
Cornbread Metalhead, welcome to the show.
How's it going, guys?
Good. Chris, and John, real quick before we to stay on topic just for 1 second. I think one thing that young podcasters have to learn is, like you said, yes, the interviews are essential when you first start, but after a certain point, have fun, because it's your personalities at that point that are going to hook people and bring people in. So if you're not having fun, even within the interviews, you're not going to, you're the stars of the show, not the artist. They bring a lot, of course, and they're extra, and they bring a shit ton, and they're not on every week. It's a different level star every week. So ultimately it's you, the hosts, that are driving the show.
Yep.
Right.
And that's a big thing to remember. I think people forget that you are the stars. And so, that was the one thing. And the other question can wait. Let's introduce Cornbread Metalhead.
Well, yeah, the Jason Tucker is his actual name. I don't know. I'm not going to call you Cornbread Metalhead. I'm sorry.
That's my podcast stick, man.
What's your name then, Jason?
Yeah, Jason Tucker. Yeah.
Tucker. Okay. Nice to meet you. I'm Ilan Fong from What's Hot in the Strip Clubs.
Yeah, me and Aaron from Desplegate go back a long way. We actually met back in the wrestling days. So I mean, I've known Aaron for probably 10, 15 years. So.
Well, I hate you jumped on so late, because I was down. I was getting ready to wrap the show. I mean, we've been at about an hour now. But
yeah, you're good, man. I was just.
Where are you based out of, man?
We're out of Columbia, about 65 miles south of Nashville. So.
Oh, cool.
Hey, what's your show? Is it a metal show, or is it a wrestling show?
It's called no, it's a metal show. It's called Metalheads Unite. We do every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. We've been pretty consistent for like 2 years now. So we kind of was the whole story with that was around a campfire and listening to music, and we were like, hey, what is this? And we look up, and this band's been around since like '88. We had no idea. It's like, man, people need to know that this stuff is out there. So let's come up with the concept of what we do now is kind of we go and we interview a lot of lesser known bands and try to get them there to into the spotlight a little more. So we've been pretty successful with that. Last year we interviewed about 12 bands, and we've already got 2 or 3 lined up for this year already. So
awesome.
Looking pretty promising.
That's interesting. You say camp.
The new album's coming out.
your connection's not too great, buddy.
I was just gonna say you mentioned campfire, because that's a saying I have with my guys. Guys, a little less wiki, a little more campfire. Meaning we're the goal. We're around a campfire talking either to the guest or to ourselves.
Right.
Right.
So
yeah. Well, I think we've hit the hour. Yeah. We've hit the hour mark, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and call it for tonight. But we will keep doing this weekly, and it'll be. I like doing the roundtable style. I just think it's fun to just sit back, chill, talk about some stories and stuff, talk music. Yeah. And if you
cool.
Maybe
I won't be so late next time.
Yeah, you have to get here earlier next time. But if you haven't bought your tickets, get them at ROCKNPOD.com and come see all these people in person. We like to hang out with everybody. It's going to be a fun time. And thank you guys for coming on the show. And I'll put your links in the show notes on YouTube.
All right.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. So I could get Cornbread and Ilan's where to hear their show in the show notes of this episode. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Awesome. Nice to meet you, John. Jason, nice to meet you guys. Appreciate it.
Guys.
Yeah,
have a great night, fellas.
Thanks, Chris.
See you next week.